Hello, I'm Scott Bogie here with your LFA fighter, Tyler Forsythe, ahead of his upcoming fight against Edwin Jimenez. How you doing today?
I'm doing great, buddy. I can't complain. Training camp's been great. Put in a little session this morning. Just trying to get some carbs back in the body to fuel another go.
That sounds great. And how are you feeling ahead of this fight?
I'm honestly feeling in the best shape of my life. As far as physique goes, I feel like I look the best I've ever looked as well too. So I feel great. I'm ready.
And how do you see this fight, like stylistically? How do you see this matchup?
I see it as a striker versus grappler matchup for the most part. My opponent has some pretty good boxing skills, from what I can tell. So I don't think it's a secret what any of our game plans are going to be coming into this one. I think it's going to be who does a better job of imposing their game plan.
Exactly. And like obviously from your career, you're on a great winning run just now. Thinking back to that last fight of yours, how did you kind of rate that performance?
How is he going to rate it?
No, how do you rate your last performance against Austin?
Probably like a 5 out of 10. I give myself just 5 points for being able to find this finish and just not crumbling underneath his little bit of pressure he gave me. It wasn't the best performance on my end. I can't really crap on the promotion too much, but that canvas was just like I couldn't find my footing. I was bouncing around, moving a lot more than I usually do, and I really just couldn't get comfortable in there. Not comfortable enough to really let my hands go. So at the second round, after I sat on the stool, coach just told me, "Let's go ahead and get him out of here." So that's what I did.
Exactly. You're able to get the fight to the ground and lock in that rear naked choke. Was there anything, apart from obviously the canvas, was there anything about his game that surprised you?
No, I knew he was going to want to stand and bang. Nothing about anything he did really surprised me at all. Like it was just me being comfortable in the cage kind of contributed a lot to that performance. And I'm more self critical than other people. So I mean, I might say it was completely terrible, but other people might give me praise. But
Yeah.
I just I really didn't feel comfortable enough to let my hands go, so I'm not really satisfied with that performance at all.
But like you said, you are quite self-critical on your performances. Do you feel like that can only help your game? Because even as some people may just go, you got the finish, you're going back and you're dialing it down to try and work out what went wrong to be able to improve that for that next fight.
Yeah, I believe it helps, but that's also what my coaches are there for as
Yeah.
well. I can't be so self critical on myself that I don't believe in my skill set. So my coaches were there just to let me know that at the end of the day the mission was accomplished, and when we got back to the gym on Monday, we were back in the drawing boards, just trying to fix some of those things. Making sure I'm checking the kicks, making sure I'm in and out, and I'm not staying stationary after I throw my combinations. So it's not really just too much to work on. Like I said, that canvas just it was honestly just the slipperiest canvas I've ever fought on in my life, and you know getting back to the gym and even trying to replicate some of those problems was a little difficult because it's not something that
Yeah.
usually occurs for me.
And you're back to your normal drawing board, back in the LFA cage. You've done it once before. Now, how big was it being able to get back to LFA, being able to, obviously, they have got one of the biggest feeders into the UFC. Was that one of the biggest drawing points for going back to them?
Yeah, yes. Well, I've kind of had LFA in my ear a little bit since I did pick up that last win. Ultimately, just as none of the matchups were kind of coming together for me. So that's why we ended up taking that fight with AKA and just trying to get something on the books. So I was going a little too long without having had fought. So we took what we could get, and then after I picked that win up, I got another offer, and it was just another a game opponent. I felt like was a good test as far as where I'm at in my career, and having the chance to come back to Louisville, I thought was a plus because I already have some kind of fan base here, having fought here last year. Uh, it was super important for me to get back on LFA with them being such a big feeder organization. But at the end of the day, I'm just trying to make sure I climb that ladder. But like anytime you can get a win on LFA, instead of taking one step up, maybe that's two steps up just because of the eyeballs that are on LFA. So it was a no brainer when I got approached with this offer.
And after you get this victory, what are you wanting next? Like, when are you looking to get back into the cage, and what kind of test are you wanting? Because obviously that would be you now on a 4-fight win streak, 7-1. You kind of are starting to get into the contentions of short notice call up, as well as the contender series just around the corner.
Yes, sir. The game plan is really not to look too far past this one.
Yeah,
I'm definitely well aware of where I'm at in my career. So, we go in there and not only get the win, but have a pretty sound performance, get the finish, kill it on the mic, let these guys know what they're getting into if they want to get into the typhoon business. And I'm looking to just maybe have one more this year if I think it's going to keep me on that trajectory to possibly getting a short call up. But I'm not in no rush. If I can't get on the contender series or maybe even a PFL call this year, I'll probably come back to the regional scene, try to get one more fight in this year, and start setting up for maybe getting on the contender series next fall, as well as just making sure I'm doing what I can to stay in the ear and stay on the minds of these bigger organizations as well.
and what kind of drew you into the sport of MMA?
Really, I guess I would say my upbringing. I didn't necessarily have the easiest upbringing. I was raised by a single mom for the most part, up until I met my stepdad, who really just grabbed hold and took hold of the reins as far as a father figure in my life. And yeah, I think that just that feeling of feeling like nobody's coming to save you. Always having to work hard for everything I've ever wanted in life. Always having just this kind of chip on my shoulder. When I had a friend that started doing MMA, I was just automatically drawn to it because of how all those challenges and difficulty in life also translate into the sport of MMA. When like nobody's coming to save you once that cage door shuts, you got to be able to take a lick and give it when that cage door shuts. And at the end of the day, it's all about your will, your grit, your determination, and the work you do when nobody's looking. And I just feel like that translated a lot into to what my upbringing was. So when I had somebody that was in the sport and I seen an avenue, it didn't take me long to creep my way up it.
Exactly. And am I correct in saying that you're currently at law school MMA?
Yes, sir. I currently train at Law School MMA in Memphis, Tennessee,
Yeah.
under Ryan Hall.
And how has that been, even just to sort of pick the brains of him? Because obviously he has got that vast experience. He's got that UFC, the Bellator experience. How has that been to just pick his mind?
I've done a really good job of just trying to give Coach Hall and the gym, you know, the flowers that they deserve. I kind of touched on it a little bit on another interview I did. I haven't really just been able to do my part as far as showcasing all the progress that's happened since joining, but like Coach Hall does a really good job of just keeping me grounded. Reminded me I can't get greedy. Reminded me of what got me to the dance, and just reminded me to stay dangerous. I really Man, you kind of caught me off. I can't say enough good things about Coach Hall and the gym. You know, I really feel like joining law school has just changed the trajectory of my career. I don't believe. I'm not gonna say I don't believe I would be as successful if I was in law school, but just as far as like looking down the road, I don't think I would be able to look as far as I'm looking now if I wasn't with law school. It's really done tremendous things for my confidence and my skill set. Like I said, it'll come when the time comes, but I have to say it. Just tune in so I can show you what this law school striking system is about. Hey, he knows what I'm coming to do. If he can stop it, maybe I'll be able to showcase a little bit of it. But, if not, then I'm just going to go in there and do what I always do to these guys and make sure the LFA gives me another call back.
Exactly. And what fight currently have you had which has been your toughest test so far?
I would have to say, my last LFA fight with Eric Calvert, just because of the size of the venue, the pressure that comes with fighting for LFA. Um, just I knew Eric was a dangerous opponent going into that fight. He was number one in this area as far as flyweights are concerned. He only stays about an hour and a half away from me, so I was really familiar with his game, his style, and like getting that first call up to a bigger regional organization put a lot of pressure on me. So that was a lot to overcome. And Eric came to bring it, so it was a tough fight as well. I was very blessed and humbled that I was able to walk out of that one with the decision victory, the only decision of my career. So I can definitely say that was the toughest one.
Exactly. And how do you kind of handle that pressure? Like you're saying, with that fight, you had the big lights of the LFA banner. How do you kind of control that? Obviously, it is just you and your opponent in there, but how do you kind of handle the pressure of these organizations?
Just kind of trying to treat it like it's another day in the office. Really, now that I've been there before, I kind of know what to expect. Nothing's really going to catch me off guard, so I believe I'll be a lot more calm this time. I was still able to catch a nap before the fight last time, so I don't want to say it was like just too big on me. I feel like I do a really good job of being able to just negate the pressure that comes with some of these stages we're on. Um, the main thing I do is just circle back in my head to training camp, and just remind myself of all the days I was in there working my fingers to the bone, getting better and getting ready for this fight. I'm a really, really accountable person. I don't miss training unless the family calls for me to miss training. I miss out on time with friends. I miss out on money, just whatever I got to do to be in the gym all the time. And I think that helps with my confidence as far as what I know I'm going to be able to do once the cage door shuts. And like you said, I know it's mano a mano when the cage door shuts, and I know that he isn't working as hard as I am.
And how do you, obviously, like you're saying, you have got to sacrifice time with your friends. Now, we just see you going from fight to fight. We don't kind of see the workings behind it. What do you feel like has been the biggest sacrifice that you've had throughout your career so far?
It would honestly just be missing time with my wife and my children, missing time with my friends and my family. That it really does a lot to you mentally, but you just got to remind yourself, what you're doing it for. But like, going to work, coming home when the kids are already in bed, most of the week is it's extremely difficult as a father. But I know that I'm not going to be able to be in this game forever, and I want to make sure that I'm teaching my daughters and my son that in order to achieve the highest of highs, you have to be able to push past some of the lowest lows, and you can't just quit when the going gets tough. If you really want something and you really dedicate yourself to it, anything is possible. I truly believe that. So that's really what keeps me grounded and what kind of circles me right back to just reminding myself that I'm doing the right thing as far as being a positive role model for my children. And just being a strong husband for my wife as well, because there's a lot on her plate with me not being here all the time. But that's also why I kind of try not to jump into fight to fight to fight. At least not until I'm able to do it full time. When fighting pays the bills and I don't have to leave the house for 9 hours a day, it won't feel like so much of a sacrifice. But right now, just not being at home is probably the biggest sacrifice and the hardest thing to deal with mentally.
And you talk about how doing that balance between work as well as fighting. How do you kind of handle that? Because obviously it is a lot of time you are spending away from your family, but how do you kind of juggle the two balances?
So I take so I get up in the morning every morning, 7 days a week, go do strength and conditioning at 5 a.m. And then after I get off work is when I'm doing some of my skills. So on Tuesdays and Fridays, I come home versus going to skills because those are some of the classes where there's a little bit lower skill level at the gym. Kind of the intro level guys. So there's no reason really. I'm not gonna say there's no reason for me to be there, but I make sure the days I'm missing, the days before, I'm redlining my heart rate, and I'm making sure that there's a reason to miss. So I just try to honestly kind of balance it, as many nights as I'm not home here, I'm able to give them at least 2 good nights a week during the week with me being here, being able to eat dinner with them, play before the sun goes down, however that may be. But man, it's hard to juggle, but that's like I said. That's why I try to space out my fights just a little bit to kind of give me a little bit of a break from training overall. A week, maybe 2 weeks, and then I'm back in there. Nose to the grindstone again.
And how do you kind of rate that flyweight division currently in the UFC? Obviously, Joshua Van is the current champion, but then you have got contenders like Cavaha, like Moreno, like Royale. How do you kind of rate that division just now?
It's definitely taking a step up, I believe, from the past 2 or 3 years. Whenever Moreno and Figueiredo were just going back and forth, it seemed like
Yeah.
every other month it was kind of like, well, no wonder nobody likes flyweights. They kind of wasn't even really letting anybody else get a chance to showcase themselves. A flyweight's just as dangerous as any other division. I personally believe it's just a little bit more dangerous than any division because there's so many there's so many well-rounded fighters that
Yeah.
when you get into some of these like in the 45, 55, 65, some of these guys are specialists is what I would call them. Like Islam Makhachev, he's coming to grapple. I mean, yes, he has striking, but his strong suit's coming to grapple. You talk about like Carlos Ulberg, he's coming to strike. He's not really
Yeah.
probably going to grapple you, and there's just so many well-rounded fighters that can fight anywhere the fight goes in flyweight. Uh, I just believe it's honestly probably if not number one, I would say number two or three as far as most dangerous divisions in the UFC.
And I mean, you just need to take a look at one of the most recent fights, Cavaha versus Moreno. Cavaha had just fell out of the rankings, not ranked against former title top five Moreno, and he nearly got him out there in the first couple of rounds. Got the decision win in the end, but being able to defeat someone from not ranked to rank five just shows you how deep your division is in terms of your ability. It just shows that anyone in flyweight can beat anyone on their day.
Yes, sir. I completely agree with that statement too. Sometimes whenever we fight, it's just the day. Who's able to perform the best on the day. I really agree with that assessment. I really like Kavanaugh. I think he's probably a future champion in that division. But I do believe Moreno had a little bit of an off night that night as well. You could honestly tell it, but that's not to take away from Kavanaugh and his performance. I think he did excellent. And he did exactly what he was supposed to do on the night. But I really agree with that assessment. The flyweight's so dangerous. Anybody can beat anybody.
And you guys do not want to miss the performance Tyler's going to put on June the 19th. on LFA 235. It's a fight you definitely do not want to miss, and we can't wait to see you walk out with your hand raised. Is there anything you'd like to add or anyone you want to shout out today?
Yes, sir. I'd like to shout out my management team, A Side Management, for getting me this fight and just keeping me in check, keeping me wrapped up in good gear, and taking care of me. I'd also like to give a shout out to Coach Hall and all the guys at Law School MMA, some of my training partners. And my wife, especially my mom, my aunt, those the people that contribute and kind of take some of the weight of fighting off of my shoulders as far as like what's happening at home, and just being there for me when I'm not able to be there for me to kind of help out my wife. But I'd like to shout out Saving Grace Cleaning Services, Lyle's Plumbing and Excavation, One Way Lawn Care, Carpenter Hammer and Paint, Grits Creation, Magnolia Chimney, Collier's Asphalt Trucking, and Destiny's Photography for all the support that they've shown me this camp. It's been a 12-week camp, this camp, and every time I've reached out to any of those businesses, they've, whether it be financially or, just asking for some groceries or something in the car, some gas in the car or something, them guys do not hesitate to help me out and make this journey just a little bit less difficult. So if they offer a service that you're looking forward to, please keep them in mind.
Exactly, that sounds great. We can't wait to see you go out there, get a win, and can't see what's next. Thank you so much for coming on.
Thanks for having me, Scott.